Sit in my seat and refuse to move? Enjoy being uncomfortable? Last week I took a flight from Athens, where I'd been visiting relatives, to London. It was a late flight, I was exhausted and the plane was full. I was in a window seat, which I'd chosen so I could rest my head against the walls and sleep. But when I got to my row, there was a guy in my seat. He had big headphones on and had his head turned away from me. I tried telling him that yes in my seat. He doesn't respond. Thinking maybe he can hear me because of the headphones, so I gently tap him on the shoulder. No reaction. I try again. Still nothing. He doesn't even turn towards me, edited to add that he is clearly not asleep. He is sitting upright and I can see his eyes open. I considered calling over a flight attendant to ask him to move, but there isn't one nearby and I am not in the mood for it to be a whole thing, so I just take the middle seat and quietly fume. A few minutes later, the young woman who is sitting in the aisle seat arrives and takes her seat. She is traveling with her friend, who is sitting in the window seat in the row behind us. They're talking to each other across their seats. Then the woman sitting in the aisle seat turns to me and asks if I can swap with her friend so they can sit together. I say sure, no problem. Now, at this point it is important to point out that her friend is very fat, borderline obese, not fat shaming. I am a heavy guy myself, but she is at least twice as wide as me. I probably would have swapped even if she hadn't been fat, but I saw a chance at revenge. As I get up to move, I see the guy sitting in my seat has turned around and realize what is about to happen. He doesn't look happy and gives me a look like he is saying please don't move. I ignore him and swap seats. I spent the flight mostly with my eyes closed as I try and fail to get a nap. But I do occasionally have a look at the row in front of me, and I am very satisfied to see that the fat woman in front of me is taking up nearly half of the window seat as well as her own seat, and that the guy in my seat is squashed up against the wall of the plane. I hope he spent the flight thinking about how if he'd just taken his own seat, he'd have been able to swap with the fat woman, and I'd have been the one pinned against the wall. Maybe next time he will think twice before he takes someone else's seat. Racist Neighbors by user Starduck Aficionado. We purchased our first home a few years ago. We quickly learned the immediate next-door neighbors hold, shall we say, antiquated opinions about race. The wife introduced herself on moving day and used the occasion to warn us that Oriental couple across the street does not maintain their lawn. Minimal interaction with them after that, until a few months later, when the old curmudgeon husband apparently had too much to drink and felt empowered to share his true feelings across the fence. You and your colored wife should move back to California. I informed him in colorful language I am not from California. I am actually from New York. Here's how you can tell. My colored wife informed him she was born in the city we currently live in. No apology. Not even enough self-awareness to blush. He takes insane pride in his yard/garden. I think it is the only reason he has to leave his couch. Every single time we pluck a mature dandelion, we walk over to the property line and blow the seeds in his direction. 3 years and a half his garden plus a goodly portion of his lawn is now dandelions. My extremely tiny and petty legally blonde moment by user Pierce and Veridity. My 3-year odyssey of spite finally came together yesterday. When I was a fresh college grad in 2022-21 for the time, I dated an attorney for about 3 months, 27. He was a talented lawyer, spoke lucidly about what he did for work, and I trusted his opinions about the legal profession. Sir, after I finished a post-grad internship, I told him my real post-grad aspiration was to get a job at a law firm as a paralegal and work as one until I was ready to apply for law school. He literally scoffed at me and told me I would be better off as a court clerk. I don't mean to hop on court clerks at all. It is a very difficult job, but it is more administrative in nature, and from the way he said it, it was exceedingly clear he meant the comment to be derogatory. He didn't elaborate on why he said this, but it was implied. I was taken aback and really fucking hurt, but at 21 I hadn't learned to have a spine yet, so I brushed it off. A few weeks later, I was working my first paralegal job. We broke up shortly after for reasons I am sure you can guess. Anyway, he was right that I am not going to be a paralegal. I took my LSAT last fall, scored in the 98th percentile, sent out my apps, committed to UC Berkeley Law yesterday, ranked about 90 spots above his law school, but who is counting, and I'm going to become a lawyer. He is currently blocked on LinkedIn after I was the recipient of some profile creeping from him, but today I am going to unblock him so he can see. Definitely reminiscent of the scene from Legally Blonde where she gets the prestigious internship. Remember those hours we spent in a hot tub on spring break? Well, this is so much better. Edit. I am blown away by the number of kind comments this post has received. Thank you so much for sharing in my pettiness. I hope you are all achieving your dreams too. Beep your horn at my mother. Get mildly inconvenienced by user Grace 18 Navy. My mother 60s was putting shopping bags into the side door of her car whilst in a car park. While doing this, a lady 20s who was parked diagonally in front of her started driving slowly towards her, crossing the midline of the spaces. She then honked her horn and wafted her hands at my mother, indicating for her to get out of the way. Obviously, this annoyed my mother, who just shook her head and continued putting shopping away. The lady then honked again and shouted out the window to move your trolley. I don't like reversing. Again, my mother continued putting away her shopping as the lady had more than enough space to reverse out, as there were no cars beside or behind her. By the time my mother had finished putting away the shopping, the lady honked a third time. So, my mother left the shopping cart in front of the lady's car, quickly got into her own car and drove away smiling. Glancing in the rear view as the angry lady had to get out of her car to move the trolley away. Great success. Petty with the breaker box. Rude neighbors. I lived in an old house with multiple apartment units. I had the entire first floor and access to the basement near and side entrance. The upstairs neighbors hated me for reasons never clear to me. When I would start a shower, I could hear them run to their bathroom to flush the toilet, which would cause the shower to briefly only run scalding hot water. They also played loud music and jumped around at random times. I learned to start the shower, but not get in it until after hearing their toilet flush. I had politely asked them not to play loud music late at night and tried being nice until I found my motorcycle pushed over. It was always chained against my stair railing with the cover on it. I couldn't prove it was them, but it was out of sight from other people and it seemed logical that they did it. One day, the power went out and the landlord asked me to check the breaker box on the basement stair near my unit. It was just a local power outage, but it gave me an idea when their music was loud. I'd shut off all the power to their unit, not others. When I was getting ready for work, I stepped down the stair, flip off the breaker, and enjoyed the silence until I was ready to leave. Anytime they were loud, I cut their power. The neighbors continued to stomp around the apartment and try to scald me in the shower, but the noise was never an issue again. The peak of my retaliation came on a very cold winter day when I realized the units had separate furnaces located in the basement. I turned theirs off and waited. The landlord called to see if I had any issues and said he would come to look, but couldn't get there until much later. I turned it back on just before his arrival. The landlord asked all the tenants if they were experiencing any issues, but everyone else said it was fine and he never figured out I was the culprit. I am not proud of my pettiness, but still smirk when I think of this.